and it's a pleasure to have you on this show.
Thank you so much for
having
me once
again.
So,
what do you make? Let's start with the party primaries that ended on June 9. What do you make of that whole package, the whole transactional affairs, money changing hands, and the allegations that delegate lists were swapped and all of that?
I like that word, transactional affairs. You know, Nigeria, we play money politics a lot in this part of the world, so it now makes politics look like a business. But in ideal sense, politics is actually supposed to be not a business of money, but a business of life transformation. You know, but in this part of the world, it's been so bastardized in such a way that we leave the sole essence of governance, and we are playing the politics of self-aggrandizement, self-actualization, and financial accumulation. You know, if you take a look at the primaries that happen across board, because of the money politics we play in this part of the world, it's affecting the right quality people to represent their constituents. So if you are not the highest bidder, you might not be able to represent the people. So you might be so intelligent, you might have what it takes, you might be loaded, you might have all the leadership, charisma, and potential. But because you don't have the financial resources to buy voters, to buy delegates, you might see yourself not being able to be at the corridors of power. So it's affecting so many regions, affecting so many policies, that is what is affecting our economy today. You see, this is where we are today as a nation. Now, the gain of defection, or people not returning back to National Assembly, although it's not now. If you look at 2003, it happened about 23. Most people that won the election in 1999, 2003, most of them did not return. Some happened 2007, 2011. Except few that have been at the corridor of power, like the likes of Aliu Dume, Senator James Manager, Ekwe Madu, like 20 years plus, then even Adamu too. Those ones have spent like 16, 20 years, in Senate. But the thing you now keep asking yourself, that even most of these guys that I talked about that have experience, I've been in, you need to re-elect me because I have experience. You not begin to wonder what impact. If you go to somebody, if you go to their constituency, you hardly see any new project in that constituency. There's no fresh innovation, no ideas, no witty invention. They keep operating the same bureaucratic processes in their constituency. You won't really see any fresh changes in that constituency. And because they've been able to hijack the structure, you will see they still find themselves back in the system. So it becomes a rhetorical occurrences. You are seeing the same person representing you over and over again, and there is no changes. But he's using the influence he has to manipulate things for his own favor.
Okay. It seems you are not in sync with those who say there should be in their constituency. Is it that you expect them to be competing with a state governor whose primary function is to provide social benefits?
Fantastic. But you realize that these lawmakers, they have what we call constituency projects. These lawmakers, they vet the budget before it's being executed. So, and each of the constituencies, let's take an example, they have the state constituency, that's happening at the state level. Now, the federal level, the Federal House of Rep and the Senate at the various senatorial districts, there are projects that each of these senators that represent their constituency are to supervise, to ensure that it gets to their various senatorial districts. Now, most of these project allocations are being made for it, and the fund comes through them. So,
but they are not the implementer.
But they are the one that influences it. So they can either influence it to their own personal pockets, or they influence it in order to favor the people. Now, how many of them influences it to actually favor the people? Okay, maybe I'll take an example that how come most of them are fighting and dying to be dead? This place is not juicy. Because it's juicy, because it pays them. And most of them, you look at this, the whole year, most of them don't even pass 1B. So my own position is this: it's cool, let there be every 4 years, possibly 10% alone should return. The best 10 legislators, the best 10 lawmakers should return. Let there be fresh spirit. Let there be fresh breath of fresh air.
109 senator, only 10%.
I mean the best 10. Yeah, the best 10.
How do you gauge the best 10?
You can gauge the best 10 by possibly having the statistics around the whole senatorial district. You take a statistic around the whole senatorial district. And there could be a task force or a committee set up that, okay, look, a different independent body entirely to monitor the national assembly. Okay, good. Each of these senators, 109 senators, is easy for us to track you. So we can set up 109 a task force specifically as an independent entity to oversee the Senate I wish they can just take this clip. It will really help them. So I go to a particular senatorial district. Take an example of my senatorial district. I came from Edo Central Senatorial District. I can be the one in charge of Edo Central Senatorial District. I don't need to pay because I'm an independent body. I ensure I give a factual report without being partisan, without being apolitical, without having religious or political affiliation. I go there, I ensure that I get a report. Every money coming to the constituency that is being allocated to my constituency, I ensure I have a detail on how it's being spent. Now the question is this: how many senators actually give accounts of how everything that comes to their constituency, how many senators actually comes out and give a public account that I received 100 million naira for electrification projects, and this is how much I bought a pole, and this is how many electrification rural projects that were established prior to the money that was given to me, and this is the amount, this is budget, this is the amount remaining. How many of them does that?
Andrew, I think we need to unpack kilometers of roads are graded.
Because the supervises the project. They are aware that it's a term of this local government in that territory to get social thing, and they ensure that it influences it in the budget, right?
Yes.
And the budget need to be executed.
Yes.
And the budget is being executed. As is my senatorial, it's my need to ensure that how was this budget executed? If there is no undertone, if I don't have a stake in that money, how come I don't question the exact, because I can practically tell you there's really no budget or no projects that you say that have been executed that have a detailed breakdown after the execution. I've never really seen the senator come out or some people that come out and say, okay, I've executed an electrification project in this local government, and this was the budget, this was the amount that was located for it that was being executed, and this was the breakdown they gave to me. Because I feel if they don't have a cut inside that money, they will give account to the people that represent them.
So you are accusing them of corruption?
All of us know that the National Assembly, of course, they are corrupt. That's their bias, naturally. We don't want the National Assembly we have, they are weak, and they said it. They are not even, they don't hide it. And the Senate President said they are happy, if you like, call the rubber stamp. He said they don't care. Because it's supposed to be an independent body, an institution that should have an authority on its own. But it's so unfortunate that the institution is so weakened that they don't have autonomous power.
Assuming without considering that you are dissatisfied with the performance
Absolutely, sir.
of the lawmakers,
Absolutely.
federal or state.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Now, is replacing the legislative assembly. You don't agree with that? I
agree with that, but at the same time, before a lawmaker, when the lawmaker comes into, there is a probation period, there is a training period, at least within the first 6 months that they are into the corridors of power, or they win the election into NASS as a fresher, their orientation system, if it's not that the system is porous naturally, before you even become a lawmaker, you should have a background of what you're going there to do. What are the objectives of me being a senator? Why am I going there to represent my people? And what's my purpose? What's my mission? You just go there to work. It's just because we've made the business of politics in Nigeria become so lucrative, we become so attractive. That's in ideal sense. If you look at most developed nations, people are not even interested in politics. They want to do business because businessmen are more enviable than people in politics. They see politicians as hungry men. But African politicians have made politics so attractive to you that you feel that the two options in this country is either I'm a politician or I'm a business, I'm an oil mogul. And it's so unfortunate that it's affecting even the yet unborn generation. So if we must sanitize the system, I am still of the opinion that before you even come into the Senate, we should ensure we definalize many aspects of politics, so that it will not be the highest bidder, it will be the best that can represent us. Now, most of them are crying that we are not returning, we don't want to return again. Of course, definitely there's no political party that will be happy that it loses its member, because so many things are involved. They will feel, okay, having been in the National Assembly, you have a stronghold of the constituency. You know, naturally, that's the way political party thinks, because they want to always come back to power. But what we that are from the civil society angle, our own orientation is not about the power accumulation, it's about the effective representation. That the Fanika was saying 22 lawmakers are going, we must not let them go. Ali May is saying that these are the 3 lawmakers defected last time, one from Castina, one from Bauchi, and one from Edo. 2 again defected from Akure and Bauchi. Ondo and Bauchi. You know, most of them, because some of them feel I cannot just stay out of power. I cannot just stay out of the corridors of power. Now you now begin to ask yourself, must it be a do or die affair? Now that the policies that you guys have made have bounced back, you couldn't return you, then why not go back and face other businesses of life? If you made a strong impact in your constituency, when you're coming back, they will receive you with a loud ovation. Your people will still find a way and find something else for you. But because most of them know that I can't go back to that constituency because the privileges I have, 4 years is very short. Most of these guys don't know. The moment they get to the course of power, they assume that they don't even come back to their constituency again. You can't even access them. Most of the time before they get there, you can call them a picture. But the moment they get there, they don't pick your call again. So most times we must change the norms and the narrative and the way we do things in National Assembly. If we actually, and also, you see the reason why I am of the opinion that we want fresh as National Assembly. You know, when fresh spirit and fresh blood come to National Assembly, there is this strong agitation. I remember during the school days, when we were studying unionism, I was a parliamentarian. From Parliament, we were always antagonizing the executive, shouting. From Parliament, we entered the executive, the SCG executive. When we got to executive, our first year in executive, we were very hot. The moment you win the election again, before, okay, 211, I was doing executive, by 311, you still have momentum down because you felt that I'm an experienced executive. I came from the Parliament from 1 level, 2 level, I'm executive, 3 level, I won the re-election again. You know, that momentum to perform is no longer there. You feel that aura, that glory aura, I'm shining you. So if you're not careful.
You think re-election means a spirit of complacency?
Absolutely.
If you win, like Iko Koremadu
over again.
Ahmed Lawan has been there.
It becomes a birthright. You feel it's a normal thing.
Has been there in the House of Reps.
Absolutely.
1999.
Ogbadabi Amila.
Ogbadabi Amila, I think it's on his 6th.
The system is crazy. Let fresh people come into the system. They will be agitated. You will see that move to perform. They want to do everything possible to prove a point because this is my first time. Another place comes again, there will be competition. I want to outshine the guy that was there again. So that, you know, that name, I want to leave a legacy in the sands of time. It's very, very important.
So let's look at, you alluded to it earlier, the fact that because many of these lawmakers lost in their bid to return to the legislative chamber, some of them have decided to defect. Yeah. Do you think defection is actually a genuine response to losing out in the party primary?
Fantastic. Like, if you look at Edo, for example, now, when Francis Alimekena lost for Edo North, he lost to Shomole, he defected to PDP to grab the ticket in PDP. Same thing happened in Ondo. Same thing happened in Bauchi. The guy went to call NNPP, you know, in Castina too. Most of them defected, you know, because they felt they need to. But the truth remains, we don't have political ideology in this part of the world. If you are a politician that's been driven by ideology, the interest of the political party will be your backbone. How do my political party perform? With or without me being at the corridor to power, that should not be the yardstick. The yardstick should be, what is the manifesto of my political party? How do I make it benefit the people? Who the next person that wants? Fine, that is what the party wants. How do I ensure that that person becomes successful in his tenure? Do you understand? But most of us, we're not driven by ideology. We're just there because of self-aggrandizement, self-actualization, self-fulfillment.
Let's pause a brief. You are from Edo State. Yeah. Will you say the defection of your governor, Obaseki, from APC to PDP has been a blessing to the state? I read about the inability for over 1 year to constitute his cabinet, and then all manner of crises with Danobi and the rest of them, the Omonile, and then the strangers who came in. You know, all manner of. Will you say, in all good conscience, that defection, beyond the fact that it got him a re-election, was a blessing in disguise? Was it a blessing? I was instrumental to Obaseki re-election. Very good 6 months I was in government house. You know, I was very instrumental to his coming back in second term. And why did that happen? If you notice that election, that Edo election we did, it was beyond political affiliation. If you follow that election wholeheartedly. Virtually. Both APC, PDP, ADP, SDP, and all the political party, it now become an individual thing. It was no longer about political party. Because people felt Obaseki had proven a point in the first term.
in terms of his innovative ideas, you know, the Edo jobs, the Edo agro processes, you know, the Uboha water recirculation project that was abandoned for years, that water in Uboha, between Uboha and Ubiaja, that he revived, and you know, the project was ongoing during that first term, you know. Then that drainage he was doing in Auchi, you know, that big Auchi road that was collapsed that he was doing, the sponsor B for the Auchi airports that he talked about, then the housing estates in Benin, those housing estates that we're talking about, then the electrification projects that he brought to Benin, the Turban, you know. So we felt that this is a performing governor. We need to give him a chance to be re-elected, because we felt there was an injustice, there was victimization and oppression, considering the fact that he is on the side of the masses. And we needed to kill the spirit of godfatherism in the state. Because what made Oshomole won the election was one man, one vote. That enough of godfatherism. And we felt being the heartbeat of Nigeria, if anything is wrong with the pumping of blood into the other organs of the body, then the whole body will be collapsed. So we felt there must not be anything wrong with the heartbeat of this country. So Edo State should be a pace center. This is a state that have produced calibers of people, run the whole federation, to the Anenia, to the Nauro, Mike Tomikini, so many other top positions that you can mention in this country. And they've made a lot of positive impact in other aspects of the world. So how come Edo State is in crisis? We said, okay, what's okay? Come back. The people voted for him massively. You know, I covered in that day of election, because I had the observers tag and shirt with me. I chartered a bike. I covered more than 8 local governments on the bike that day of election. I had the report of 8 local governments, from one local government to the other.
So now, you know, the election has been over for 2 years.
Yes. Crisis
that ensued. Do you think it will not have been better if he didn't defect?
At the same time, it's positive for PDP, because PDP is actually a plus for the political party, having been in opposition for 12 years, and it's negative for APC. But now, to some extent, based on the legacy PDP, they have a legacy PDP, 2 factions of PDP in Edo State, and the legacy PDP and the Obaseki's team itself. The legacy PDP felt disenfranchised, that we've given you a platform where you were under the rain, we're giving you an umbrella that will cover you. Now, after giving you the umbrella, all you could do was to tear the umbrella and abandon us. You know, and the governor being the leader of the party felt, okay, try as much as possible to harmonize the whole structure together. But the truth remains, politicians will always remain a politician. There was a sharing formula that was laid on ground. You know, the government takes some, leaves some for the old PDP, because you cannot just come into a party and push the old PDP. Now, what has become of that is that there's a crisis in the state, and if it's not properly managed, the party, what happened to the party, what happened to Zamfara, we pray it will not happen to them in Edo State. Okay. So, but now it's affecting performance, because the governor is distracted. That is where the problem is, you understand? Because if the governor have all the necessary support and every other thing, of course he will be focused on governance and, you know, development. But no governor want to lose a structure, use his own money to fund a structure that is not in control of. That is where the problem is right now. Okay, so I think everybody should come to a round figure table and arrive at a political solution so that there can be a progress for the state.
That's from Andrew Anthony. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been very worthwhile. You've taken us through your own perception of high turnover. You felt it's a good thing to have